Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Empowered Prose and Ponders podcast. My name is Lauren, and I am the host of this podcast and the owner of the Empowered Prose and Ponders blog on WordPress.com. And I am joined today by the very lovely Dr. Emily Rausch, who I met 2 years ago, and she inspired me to do this podcast. Welcome, Emily.
Hello, thank you for having me, and I'm so proud of you for
Thank
creating a
you.
podcast. Yeah, it's going to be so good.
It is. I'm so excited. So let's kick things off. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and introducing yourself?
For sure. Hello, hi, friends. My name is Dr. Emily Rausch. I am a certified chiropractic sports physician, which is a wordy way of saying I'm a chiropractor that specializes in sports medicine. Within the umbrella of all of the possible sports, I picked pole dancing to be my specialty, partially because I'm a pole dancer myself. We're coming up on 8 years of me pole dancing, which I realized that yesterday. I was like, oh my God, March is my pole anniversary. And I'm like, 8 years? Like, it's been 8 years since I walked into a pole studio. Like, it seems like it was yesterday. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And so, yeah, how that journey kind of happened was I wanted to find a way to work out without it feeling like a workout, and had no intentions of this being my specialty for my career or for my degree. I very much thought I was going to be doing runners or baseball players or whatever. And through my 8 years of doing this, I'm like, oh, there's a need for providers that understand this form of movement. Unfortunately, a lot of people get hurt doing it, so I get to take something I really love doing with my own body and my degrees and education and intermix them
Yeah.
to be here.
Awesome. So you started pole dancing 2 years before I did then. You've been doing it for 8 and
Oh,
I will have been doing it for 6 this fall. So,
amazing.
which is crazy.
Woohoo. That's so
Yeah.
crazy. Time goes by so fast.
It does go by so quickly. And um I totally hear you on how easy it is to injure yourself pole dancing. I actually just got back into training for longer than I have been this week, and
Okay.
I don't know what I did, but I pulled something in my back, a muscle. So I've been putting on Medi-Stick for the last couple days, and I've been using heat, and I've actually got my dad's grounding mat in my chair, so I'm leaning against that.
Oh, I actually need to create some stuff on back pain and back injuries, because that
Yeah.
has been a more common, probably the past 3 weeks. I think I've gotten at least one question every week about it. So posts will be coming about back pain shortly.
Yay! Awesome. So, on Instagram, you post pretty regularly about injuries that pole dancers face and how to rehab them. How have you ever been injured badly while training? And if yes, what was the injury and what was your recovery process like?
Yeah, so this is actually how I started working with pole dancers, is because I hurt my left shoulder. I am a hypermobile human, and my left shoulder is my bane, the bane of my existence, to be honest. So
Ooh.
I dislocated it, or subluxed it. We're kind of in that gray period. It left its assigned seat and
Yeah.
went into the sports chiropractor that I was working for at the time, trying to explain to them this is what happened, and these are the assessments that I need you to do so that I can build out my own rehab plan. I can handle it. I just can't see
Yeah.
the back of my own shoulder to figure out what structures are angry with me right now.
Yeah.
And you would think with my level of education that I could walk in and talk to another provider and say hey, here, this is literally what I need from you. And it was a really challenging experience where I was I don't understand how somebody who doesn't have the background that I have
Yeah.
goes into any sort of provider with a pole injury and isn't met with completely blank stares or judgment, or just I don't know, do the generic shoulder rehab exercises. So I left that being kind of defeated, and then also kind of empowered, because I was fuck having to deal with this Like
Yeah.
no one should have to like experience the amount of, yeah, just kind of like turmoil that I was experiencing. So yes, long story short, yes, I have been injured, and then that is actually how I started working with pole dancers like
Pole dancing.
virtually, was because I'm like, somebody has to be able to help us, and it might as
Absolutely.
well be me.
Yeah, absolutely. There, I'm actually shocked at like uh, how limited the medical world is to pole dancers for rehabbing injuries and stuff like that. Yeah,
It's growing, which I will say it is growing. So when I first started posting things online, it was like pretty rare. I think there was like maybe two or three of us that I
yeah,
can think of off the top of my head that were posting towards pole dancers, and then I would just hear like crazy stories from the people like with when I was posting content where they're like, my physical therapist told me to like never lift more than 5 pounds ever again, and I'm like, well, you're never going to be able to like lift your body weight if
yeah.
they're capping you at 5 pounds, and this, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And so I found it, yeah, really frustrating, especially because like other forms of movement, I'm going to use baseball players for an example because that's the one that's like top of mind.
Yeah.
I have an app on my phone where I can checklist assess a baseball player. I don't play
Right.
baseball. I haven't played baseball for a really long time, but I can literally download an app, pull it up, and be like, does their shoulder do this? Yes or no? Does their thoracic spine do this? Yes or no? And it will tell me how to treat this person based on the yes or no answers. And so the fact that they can walk into pretty much any clinic and get really high quality care kind of off the rip versus us having to walk in and be like, okay, I'm going to show you a video, but this person is going to be in like a bikini. Is that going to be a problem for you? Here's what I was trying to do. Here's my attempt. Here's how I'm like, the amount of information that you have to give the person to kind of be just that starting point is kind of ridiculous. So more
Right.
people, more providers need to specialize in this.
Yeah, but that's great that it's growing and that it's not becoming that and that it's becoming like more mainstream and like more common. Yeah,
Agreed.
because
Agreed.
gymnasts have like sports doctors, and
Same. Yeah.
we're doing pretty much the same thing that they are, only on a pole.
Yeah. No, there's definitely, if if a provider wants to, like they can connect the dots between like other like
Yeah,
more traditional, like quote unquote more traditional sports. It just takes like some effort on that person's part to
absolutely.
care,
Yeah,
and that unfortunately, yeah, can be not always there.
yeah. So, Emily, on a yearly average, how many pole dancers do you work with to rehabilitate their bodies after injury or in prevention of an injury?
Yeah, that is a really great question. So I can handle like 35 one-on-one clients at a time. And so sometimes I will stick with the same like 35-ish people
Yeah.
for like half the year. And then other times they will like they'll feel better and they'll like graduate from their rehab plan, and then I'll have a spot to fill where
Yeah.
somebody else will come in. And so I would say like 100-ish probably on average is what I see.
Okay.
And then I also run like quite a few different online courses.
Right.
Those have like, yeah, like a couple hundred is like the most that I've ever had enroll in one.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we got like a lot of little touch points with people, which is cool.
Yeah, for sure. 100 people a year was actually my guess. So, for how many pole dancers you see? Do you want to tell us a little bit about your courses that you do?
Yeah, is there one in particular or all of them?
Just like all of them, like a really Cliff Notes version of what it is and how you came up with the name for your courses.
Yeah, and so this is actually, I think it's like a really funny thing. So when I started my business, my goal was to have it be kind of a like supplement to my in-person clinic. So I had a in-person clinic in Boise, Idaho, which is where I was living at the time, and I started my clinic during COVID, and so and I had just moved there, so like no one knew me, and I was like, people know me online, so let me like start working with people like more virtually.
Yeah.
And that was my goal with it, and with the like histories and like assessments that I was doing, I was noticing patterns with people. And a lot of times it would be patterns of like injuries, and then also I was having the same conversation with people like, multiple times a week. And
Yeah.
there was one day where I just got like kind of frustrated, where I'm like, I don't know like how many times I can have this like same conversation with somebody. And so I grabbed my little microphone and I was like on Instagram, hello friends, and welcome to a new series called How to Not Fuck Up Your Body Pole Dancing. And I would just share like the conversation that I was having with people, like kind of behind a paywall, out to everyone. And from there, I was like, oh, there's enough information here for me to create a course, because I typically see like hamstring injuries or shoulder injuries in pole dancers. And so I at first created a How to Not Fuck Up Your Shoulders pole dancing course. And it was literally just the same conversation / same injury patterns that I was seeing in pole dancers all across the world. And so I just like took, that like information and distilled it down into a course. And then I had a bunch of people reach out and be like, well, what about like hamstrings or like lower body things? And I was like, okay, score. Like I can create one for like upper body and one for lower body. And then that was my plan, was just to like have those two and kind of ride it. And then once again, like my brain notices patterns a lot. And I was like, a lot of the stories that I'm hearing from people are from instructors not really understanding how to design a class, how the body works, how to like progress through like teaching someone how to move. And so I was like, I'm going to create an instructor course. Once again, trying to get on top of like so many pole dancers are injured. So I'm like, I can talk to people one-on-one, but if I want to have a bigger impact, I need to talk to instructors, right? And then they hit like, 20, 30 people a week. And so the more information that can get spread throughout the pole community, the better. And so,
absolutely.
I created my instructor course, which is How to Not Fuck Up Your Students Pole Dancing, which is, a super fun one. And that one is actually the third round of it's going to start in April, which is super cool.
Amazing.
And then, I know, I'm pumped for that one.
That's
and then
great.
the other topic that I would get asked about fairly often was around pole dancing. When people are pregnant or postpartum, there's not a lot of information or like content online about either one of those
There's
seasons of life. And so there's not, and so that was the last one that I actually created this year. This year in January, both of those went live, and those ones were like kind of interesting, to be honest, because I have never like been pregnant and I never will give birth, and so I'm like, here's the information that I think somebody would want to know, not really like having the context of it. So, those are all my courses.
Well, awesome. And kudos to you for creating those courses too, because like you said, injuries are very common in pole dancers, and knowing how to not mess up your body from the get-go is so, so important. And also, just going back to what you were saying there about the instructors like not knowing how to design a class and like how to show progressions and how to do movements safely, like that's such like a crucial part of pole dancing, is like knowing how to like start and also like knowing how to like add on to a combination or something. Like that's so, so important. And also like how to do it safely.
Yeah, I think, like, unfortunately, a lot of people discount how dangerous pole dancing actually can be.
Yes.
Some
I
styles of it,
agree.
right? Like, some styles are more in the, I don't want to call them like unsafe versus safe, but some of them, like, your risk of being injured is like significantly less than the ones where you're up the pole and doing flips and crazy things.
Yes.
And so, I think people want to discount how dangerous it actually can be, and also discount how much like physical capacity you have to do, or you have to be able to do a lot of the tricks. And so there's like just like a tiny bit of like a disconnect, unfortunately, that I've been kind of poking to be like, hey, like even beginner pole, like if you think about it from like a biomechanical standpoint, like a chair spin, for an example, or even like a dip spin, right? Like you're putting a significant portion of your body weight into your upper body, which the majority of people, when they first start pole dancing, haven't done for years, like if ever. Right. And so you're going in and being like, it looks fun, right? It looks cool. Like it's sexy. It's enthralling. Like I want to be able to do this. And also like this shit is hard as fuck from like the
Yes.
entry point.
Yeah.
And then it only gets harder. Like
Yes.
you get stronger and so like it gets easier, but like the tricks like on a biomechanical level and like a load capacity level like skyrocket. And so I think the more we can honor that, like it is fun, it's sexy, it's like a
Yes.
really enjoyable way of moving our body, and also it's hard. And so like
It's
let's
hard as hell.
prepare
Yeah.
our bodies, yeah, our bodies for this instead of discounting, you know, where I don't know, I say having beef with the phrase that like pole is for everybody and everybody, and I'm like, oh, like it can be,
Yeah.
but a lot of the stuff that you see online, like it's not like
Yeah.
not right away, right? Like you
Not
gotta
right
like
away.
work your way up to be able
Yeah.
to do that. To do that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It takes tons and tons and tons of practice to like to be able to do um like even the simplest move. Like if you haven't trained for a while and you're stiff and you've lost your flexibility and strength like I have.
Mm.
But yeah, just having to relearn those movements represents a challenge in itself, because you're like, oh, like I used to be able to do this no problem. So you kind of beat yourself up a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and I
I
think
totally agree.
yeah, I'd say like on a few different levels. So when I haven't started teaching since I moved to San Diego, but when I was teaching, I taught the very intro. Like you've never touched the pole before in your life.
Yeah.
Welcome to the studio. And simple things like walking around the pole in a circle would be really challenging for
Yeah.
people. Right, like that's just a basic form of movement that we've done since you're what, 1.5. I don't know when babies start walking, but pretty young.
Yeah.
And then even things like a body wave. I don't know how many different students I had be really frustrated, both with themselves and with me, because they're like, why the fuck can I not move my
Yeah.
spine in a like S shape? And I'm like, what, like when have you though? Like when have you ever
Yeah. Yeah.
had to do this before in your life?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't want to be a hater because like I love pole dancing. I love it. I love it so much, but I feel like we kind of do people a disservice by like brushing over how challenging,
Yes.
like even on a coordination level, like a
Yeah.
lot of beginner things are.
Yeah. And on a mental level too. You see something online and you're like, "Oh, that's amazing. I want to be able to do that, but I'm not quite there yet." So you put pressure on yourself to be able to do that. And that's when you get injured,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Laura, one of the other dancers that I interviewed, she said that like sometimes you kind of feel imposter syndrome with pole dancing, like
Mm.
because you see um like you see yourself as being able to do all these tricks. But yeah, she said that there's sometimes like a little bit of imposter syndrome, and there's also feeling pressure to be as good as the dancers that you see online.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a conversation that probably could be had more often around ego and comparison, and
Yes. Yeah.
often I'll use the word entitlement when I'm talking to people kind of one on one, where I'm like, you're not entitled to be able to move the way that somebody else moves online, right? Like
Right.
you don't know how much work they've put in to be able to do the things that they are posting on Instagram. And you are somewhat making the assumption that you guys are on the same level because you've been
Yeah.
pole dancing for the same amount of time, or your
Yeah.
bodies are shaped similarly. But yeah, it takes a lot of work, and in no way, shape, or form are you just, yeah, like entitled to be able to do something that you
Yeah.
want to do or you think you should be able to do. You got to put in the
Yeah.
work to be able to do the things that you want to do.
Yeah, and that goes back to what you were saying earlier about the body wave. Because when I did it for the first time, I was just like, this is so foreign to me and to my body, because I've never done a movement like this before. Like you start on your toes and then you arch your back and then pull your chest in towards the pole. We both start doing it. The way I always look at a body wave as it's as if my body is a snake slithering up the pole, because you know how snakes move. They go back and forth, back and forth. That's essentially what a body wave is.
Yeah, and it's in the spectrum of movements that are possible, just like in pole or just like kind of in general, it is more on the simple end. But yeah, you have to be able to, right, like hold your body weight up on your toes, and you have to be able
Yes.
to articulate your cervical spine from your thoracic spine, from your lumbar spine, from your pelvis, and like
Yeah.
coordinate, like, okay, when is one going to move into one direction and the other one's going to react and move into the other direction. yeah, it's not a normal thing to do. And so, yeah, they'll like disconnect. And
Yeah.
then quite often the frustration that people will have when they're first learning it, where they're like, I look robotic or I look
Yeah.
stupid. And why can't I
Yeah.
look like you? And I'm like, if you could walk in, this is a rant that I would go on a regular basis. I'm like, if you could walk in to a
Yeah.
pole studio and look the same way that I look after doing this for 8 years,
Yeah.
like what the fuck am I doing with my time? Like
Yes.
it is ridiculous. Like if you zoom out, right? Your feelings are your feelings, and I'm not trying to discount your feelings, but it's ridiculous on a premise level to be like,
Yeah.
I think I should be able to look the same as somebody who has put in 8 years of work
Yes.
on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so frustrating on so many different levels because like we're all different and have different fitness levels. And Josie, another one of the dancers that I interviewed, she's like, this was very, very early on. This was back in the beginning days of the Empowered Pole Dance Project. But she said that there's only a handful of people who can walk into the studio and get pole dancing like that. But for the rest of us, it takes years and years of practice and it takes so much discipline.
Yeah, and I would say the people that can walk into it, they're not walking in like having no movement background, right? Like they're probably walking in with a gymnastics background or a dance background or a really robust general fitness foundation. It's not going to be somebody that hasn't moved since, whenever they were forced to take
Yeah.
PE class in junior high or high school. These are people that have put in lots of reps and time and effort to be able to have the skill sets that they have in their body. And they're just shifting from
Yeah.
one form of movement to pole.
Absolutely. Like, and um, I've interviewed dancers who have said they do have a gymnastics background or a dance background, and they said that those things have really helped them. But there's also dancers who I've talked to who have said that they don't have any dance or gymnastics background, and yet when they found pole dancing, they're like, oh, this is like what I've been looking for.
I love that for them. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
me too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while we're on the topic of that, did you have any prior experience with different kinds of dance or gymnastics growing up, like before you start pole dancing? Because you said something about softball earlier.
Yeah, so the only, I guess, a kind of similar movement background that I had is I trained, some people call it a hammock, some people call it a sling, so like looped silk,
Yeah.
for 4 or 5 years prior to switching to pole. That, yeah, prior to that, no, I was like soccer, basketball, track, I threw the javelin in college. Yeah, I like, you pick like traditional sport. I had done it at some point, volleyball, trying to
Yeah.
think of all the ones that I did. Softball, yeah, like
Yeah.
all of those, yes. And then I graduated from undergrad, and I was like, I'm really tired of feeling like I live in a weight room and live at practice, but I
Yeah.
still want to like enjoy moving my body. I don't want it to be as rigid as I was when I was in college, and so
Yeah.
I ran for a while because I enjoy running, and so I was doing like 5Ks, 10Ks, and then randomly, I'm pretty sure I found a Groupon for an aerial taster class at a studio in Montana, and it was 4 weeks, and so 1 week we were on the trapeze, the lyra, the straight silks, and then one of the weeks was the hammock, and I was like, of all of these, I love the hammock
Yeah.
the most.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like I was like, score, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue lifting and running, but then I have, yeah, this like,
Yeah.
fun way of working out that lets
Yeah.
them feel like a workout.
Yes.
Yeah, and we did that for a while,
Awesome.
and then we switched to pole.
Yeah. And the lifting and running really helps with the pole, doesn't it? Because we need that strength, and we also need the cardio to not get winded when we're doing choreo, and
Yep.
also just stuff in general. But wow,
Yeah, it
that's
turns out,
that's quite the switch.
yeah, it was. It's been an interesting, and still to this day, like it's really interesting because like there's, it's been a while since I've been in a studio where they were like anti-sports for
Yeah.
like one of the studios that I trained at, where they're like, we're the people that like, are the people that work best at our studio, or people that like hated gym class. And then I was in there, and I'm like, I love gym class. Like gym class was like my one of my like favorite parts of I don't know if we went every single day, but like the week at least, like give me the like regimented, like structured warm-ups. Give me the like grindy things. Like I love it.
Yeah.
But that's not a like typical, I guess, like pole dancer experience. And so yeah, it's been an interesting journey to like come in and like found other studios where I fit better. That one was like an interesting one for me to be in because I was like, oh no, I don't think I fit
Yeah.
here. But yeah, I
Yeah.
still I don't know, I enjoy it. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a lot. It is a lot of fun for sure. So, how does your pole dance journey connect to your business, Emily? Would you say?
Ooh. Um, I mean, fortunately slash unfortunately, they're pretty intermixed. And I say unfortunately because pole dancing was a hobby for me. That was like how
Yeah.
it started. It was literally just me having a way to connect with people that were outside of my normal bubble. And it slowly but surely has turned into pretty much my entire life and my entire identity.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like um, the hobbiness has kind of switched to kind of feels like a little bit of a job every once in a while, and so I've been trying to work on that within my own practice of like, okay, I need to create content and I need to have videos of me dancing to be able to share
Yes.
online. But
Yeah.
if every time I touch the pole, I'm setting up my phone and I'm getting the lighting just right, and I'm thinking about what angles do I want, what combos do I want to do solely so that I have something to post for Instagram, it sucks the joy out of it.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
have been having to be really intentional of like on Tuesdays, I'm going to
Yeah.
film my practice with
Right.
the goal of it being I'm going to get clips to share online to like on my business. And then all of my other practices throughout the week, like I still do film them because I do like having a footage to go back and like view. And every once in a
Yeah.
while, I'll like bust out a combo where I'm like, I need to practice that like, a little bit more. But they're like, for me. And so, yeah, that divide. And I'm still trying to play with it because unfortunately, one of the downfalls of like having an online business is like everything could be content, and so do I want like every aspect of my life to be like content based?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it's really hard to strike that balance. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, that's actually why I don't post like a lot of personal stuff online. Like I mainly use my Instagram to like share what I'm doing like with my writing and now with this podcast. But other than that, I don't really share much on about myself online because I'm a pretty private person to begin with. So, and also, I
Yeah.
don't think you need to share everything online about yourself.
Yeah, and I go back and forth because like I follow a few, and I don't know if like instinct or influencers is the right word, or content creators where like I love like how vulnerable they are, and like I have found some people who like them sharing like their like struggles and like their journey through like different parts of their life to be like, oh my God, like I'm not alone in
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and I was feeling like really isolated and really alone. So like
yeah.
I do appreciate the people that have that like comfort level with everything. But yeah, for me, in like a similar boat where I'm like, I don't know how much of like my every aspect of my life like I feel comfortable with like complete strangers
Right.
knowing.
Yes, you gotta know
Yeah.
where to draw the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I just want to go back to what you said about feeling isolated and alone. And I want to ask you, has pole dancing helped you not fix it, but not feel so alone? And has it helped you acknowledge and heal from trauma from past events?
Yeah, ooh, okay. Has it helped me feel less alone? Yeah, I think in like some aspects, yes. I would say recently not so much because I haven't found like the pole community that I'm like searching for here in San
Yeah,
Diego yet.
yeah,
Full disclaimer that like I haven't really like put that much effort into it because I was noticing that I was just like a little bit too overwhelmed where I'm like eventually I'm gonna like eke myself into the like in real life pole community here
yeah,
more. But kind of zooming out from like recent things, people that are the majority of people that I'm like the closest to are pole friends. And like
Yes.
we have connected through pole dancing at like different phases of my life. And so with yeah, a lot of, I guess the most recent like big trauma that I've had in my life is I got divorced like a year and a half ago without my, now they're like online friends because I like don't live where they live anymore. Without them, I
Yeah.
don't know if I like honestly would have made it. So I had, the root of our friendship was like we started taking pole classes together, and then we
Yes.
became friends, and then my like personal life blew up,
Yeah.
and being able to like lean on them, and you
Mm-hmm.
know we would do like Zoom dance sessions, or we would just like send each other like videos, just like talk about, you know, like what's going on in class.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm working on. Here's what I'm working on. Blah blah blah. Like the root, yeah, the root of it has been pole, and so it's been really healing,
Yes.
community wise that way. And then on like a personal level, it is a way sometimes, because it's not like always the same for me, where like if I'm having a really like hard day or like a really like grief filled day, where moving my body and like listening to, you know, like sad songs or like happy
Mm-hmm.
songs or like
Yeah.
whatever, you know, whatever calls to me that day,
Yes.
has been, yeah, like really really cathartic, and
Yeah.
like allows me
Absolutely.
to, you know, like process through some of the grief waves that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry to hear about your divorce. I imagine I imagine that wasn't very easy.
No, it
And
wasn't. But it's also, it's a good thing. Like let
yes.
me, well, yeah. And so like maybe some people it's a like I'm sorry. For me, it's a like fuck yes. Like that
Yeah.
relationship needed to end.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah, it's not like a happy forever thing, because like
Yeah.
it's sad that like 11 years of my life with a person, I'll never talk to him again. But
Yeah.
I'm here, and I don't think I would be if I stayed married.
For sure. And that's really important to realize too. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions, but when you look back on it, like a year and a half later, say, you realize, you know what? As hard as it was, I'm really, really glad I did that. And
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you had like people to lean on during that time in your life, because I can only imagine like how uh, difficult it was. Because you said that you and your ex-husband were together for 11 years, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a long time to be. That's a long time to be with someone. When it ends, it can be really sad.
Yeah, it was, and it still is really sad.
Yeah, it
We're
is really
still
sad.
in the, like grief is like such an interesting thing, right? And like processing trauma is such an interesting thing. And so I actually
Yes.
had somebody message me the other day, and they're like, "You haven't really shared how you're like how you are doing,
Mm-hmm.
like for a really long time." And like this person was like, "I've been following you for a while. Like I would really like if you're comfortable, like appreciate like you sharing an update on how like you're doing." And so I've um, been thinking about that, because I'm like, how much do I want to share, and like, and how do I actually like want to share this? And I think this is gonna be my like trial run. The best way of describing it is, in a lot of aspects, I can look at my life and be like, my life is so good. Like it's so
Yes.
good. I'm living like 10 minutes from the beach. I have my own apartment. I have my dog. Like
Yeah.
I get to choose what I'm doing with my life. I don't have a person coming in and like telling me that I'm like the worst person ever, and that I'm like too needy, and like if I could just deal with basically being treated like shit, like we wouldn't
Yeah.
have problems. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like all of that no longer is. And then
Mm-hmm.
the other hand is like I spent 11 years of my life like connecting and like trying to grow with this person, and I had a life plan, right? Like I had a
Yeah.
house, I had a dog, I had a husband, like I had a business, like what my life goal and my like vision for my life was
Mm-hmm.
there, and then it just
Yes.
like whooped
Yeah.
away. And I still wrestle like quite a bit, where I'm like, what, literally what the fuck, like
Yeah. Yeah.
what am I doing? Not that like what am I doing with my life, but like I had my whole life planned, Like
Yeah.
all of these things were checked off. And now I'm like, I don't know, like going on dates and getting ghosted and like trying to figure out, do I like ever want to like have a life partner again? Is that something that's
Yeah.
important to me? Or like, is my entire existence going to be just like working and like hanging out with my dog? And not that that's like bad, but yeah, a lot of the like, the vision of like growing old with this person is now, it's
Yeah.
just like blank. And I'm like,
Yeah.
we're overwhelmed a lot of the days being like, I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
doing. And yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how much like of a change in a life plan can affect us, and we're like, wait, what? No, this isn't how it was supposed to happen. But
Yeah. And I
so
I wrestled with that. Like that
yeah,
came up a lot where I'm like, this wasn't supposed to be my life. This was not supposed to happen.
yeah,
Like, no, no, no. And my therapist was like, but it is. Like,
yes,
but it is happening, right?
yeah,
Like this is your like actual reality. And so you have to like grieve
yeah,
the, I don't know, like hypothetical life that you had planned for yourself and like feel those feelings and then like kind of let it go while
yeah,
simultaneously build a new thing for
right,
yourself.
yeah,
And so, yeah, that like I've been calling it an emotional roller coaster where I'm like, I'm doing so good. People are like, oh my God, I don't know. Oh my God. Yeah.
yeah. Yep, I know how that feels.
Yeah. And I think where like circling back to people sharing things is like I'm not alone, right? Like
Right.
you can resonate with this. Every person that I've ever talked to, they're like, yes. Like the thinking that like something's gonna happen or like this shouldn't be happening is like such a universal human experience. But I think far too often we think that we're like the only ones going through this, or we're like the only ones that have ever had like
Yeah,
this happen. And not that it's like apples to apples, obviously, but
yeah.
there's a lot more like interconnectedness between all of us than I think we realize.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying that. I think when we have like a traumatic event happen in our lives and we're like, oh, this only has ever happened to me, no one can understand how this feels. But that's not the case at all. Like, there are so many people out there who have gone through the exact same thing that we have. And while the circumstances might be different, they do know how we feel because they've been through it too.
Yeah, and that has been, I think, one of the most like soothing
Yeah.
probably feelings to have is like like circling back to like how vulnerable do people want to be online. It's like the people that are choosing to be vulnerable because like that's where I like connect with people more often than not is like online is being able to I don't know if you're on TikTok, but like I'm on TikTok
I'm
and
not.
I went down. Okay, it's a chaotic app. I love it and hate it
Yeah.
at the same time. But my algorithm put me on what is called like divorce TikTok, and so it's like a bunch of women sharing like their stories of like what led to their divorce. And I like fully was like, no one's ever been treated the way that I was been treated. Like this is like such a like unique experience, and it was like video after video after video of drastically different women sharing like basically the same story,
Yeah.
slightly different font. And on one hand, it's like, oh, it's fucked that like so many of us have had like a similar experience, but then
Yeah.
also it's like, oh, okay, like I'm really not that special, which for some reason was like relieving to me because I'm like, oh, if like these 50 women can experience the same thing and like they're out here like thriving, like so
Yeah.
can I.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I need to like join the ranks and then like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like succumb to like the depressive thoughts. Like I'm gonna be out here
Yeah.
like living my best life. So let us
Absolutely.
go.
Absolutely. It's a wake up call, a reality check, and an ego check all in one, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to a happier topic, I actually want to backtrack a little bit. And you've told us about when you were in university and you did all these different sports, throwing the javelin, for instance. And also, good on you for doing that. I don't think I would be able to do it. Um, but when you were in university, did you always plan to go into the health field, or did you start out with a different major?
Yeah, really great question. If I could go, I don't actually know if I could go back in time and do this, but my original plan when I was in high school was I wanted to be an interior designer. That was my like I really love like design and
Yeah.
like stuff like that, which is, I think, is why I love like posting on Instagram so much, is I get to have that like creativity, like design aspect of my personality like
Yeah.
come out. Unfortunately, my parents did not think interior design was like a good career for me.
Mm.
And so like was influenced a little bit too much from them. And
Mm-hmm.
so my declared major when I went to undergrad was business, and
Mm-hmm.
I needed one more class to be considered full time at my college. The only class that like worked with my schedule was one in like the exercise science major, and I don't actually remember what the class was, but I was like on the track team and had been in sports my entire life, and so I was like, I'll score. Like it's not gonna like hurt me to go take
Mm-hmm.
a exercise, probably like an exercise physiology class or something.
Yeah.
And I yeah, went into it and I was like, oh, I actually really enjoy like learning about the human body and like
Yeah.
how it functions and like how training can affect it. So I switched my major to exercise science.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what my like initial degree, my like first bachelor's degree was in. And then I knew that I was going to have to, like the school that I was at, they're like, you're going to have to get like a master's or a doctorate in
Mm-hmm.
something, because it was the degree was like, here are kind of all the different fields that there are different, yeah, fields you can go into, kind of different ways that you can use an exercise science degree, not like you graduated with the goal of being like an exercise physiologist or whatever.
Right.
It was like how you could be a personal trainer. Here's how you could like work in a lab. Here's how you could do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I I remember, it's actually like kind of funny to think of my life story. I remember Googling, what do I do with an exercise science degree? And one of the things
Yeah.
that popped up was you could be a chiropractor. And I had been going to a chiropractor since I was like 12 with
Yeah.
all of my sport injuries. And so
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, score. I can be a chiropractor.
For sure.
Which is a wild way to choose your career, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest. So I initially went to chiropractic school right after undergrad.
Yeah.
Was not prepared for how hard the jump from like undergrad degree to a doctorate level degree was,
Yeah.
and I ended up dropping out. To be honest, like I didn't make
Oh
it
man.
very long in it. Which I held a lot of shame around that, because I'm not one, like I'm not really a person that quits or fails at stuff, but I like failed and quit at
Yeah.
chiropractic school the first time that I went to it. And then I took 7 years off. And I was
Wow.
just working like random jobs. I was working at like a bank, in
Yeah.
like retail, and then kept having this feeling like I wasn't really living up to my true potential,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a wild feeling. But I'm like, I'm not doing, like, I don't want to work in a bank forever. I don't want to work at like
Yeah.
Gap forever. And not that those are like bad careers, but I'm like, this isn't what I envisioned for my life.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, I'm gonna go back to school at some point, and eventually got to the point where I was like, I'm gonna go back to chiropractic school. Like I still feel called to do this,
Mm-hmm.
and so
Yeah.
um, yeah, after like a 7 year gap after
Yeah.
undergrad, went back to chiropractic school and was in just like a completely different like I don't know
Yeah.
headspace. I wasn't like 23, I
Yeah.
was like almost 30.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, it
Yeah.
was cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool, and thank you for sharing that with us.
Mhm.
I've I actually don't know anything about chiropractic school, but I imagine that it's a pretty tough program. And one of my girlfriends is actually a veterinarian, and
Mm.
she actually applied to this veterinarian school like 3 times, I think, and I think she got rejected the first 2 times, and then the third time she finally got in. But she kind of had the same thing as you. She was, oh, like I really wanted to get in and do well. But sometimes I think life tells us you're not ready yet. And
Yeah.
you didn't let your you didn't let the fact that you had gone to chiropractic school and tried before, like, and um and then quit school, like you didn't let that stop you from applying again, which is great. Like I actually had an experience in university. I have my English major, and I had somebody. So, like, my lifelong dream has always been to be a writer. I never in a million years thought I would be running a podcast or a blog, but there you go. And I actually had someone in one of my writing classes who completely tore me down and tore my writing to pieces. And after that, I was just like, screw this, I'm done. I'm never writing again unless it's for school. And like, same story as you. I actually took a gap, maybe, oh God, how many years was it? 6 years at least of a gap from writing. And I just explored different avenues. And I actually took the test to be a fitness trainer 3 times, and I failed all 3 times. And the third and final time, I was just like, okay, if I fail this test again, obviously the universe is trying to tell me something. So I needed 80% to pass. And the third time I took it, I got 73%. I was missing 7% from passing this damn exam, but
Oh
I was just like,
no.
okay, obviously I need to like find something else to do. So I worked as a server for almost 4 years, and then the pandemic happened, and that was when I made the switch into writing full time. So yeah, it took me a while, but like you, I found my way back to living up to my full potential. It just took a little detour.
Yeah, which I think makes life like a little bit more interesting too, right? Like
Yeah.
as hard as it is to have, which is I've been telling myself this a lot with life lately. As hard as it is to have those dips and downfalls, if life was just easy all the time, I think it would be kind of boring. Slash,
I
if someone's
totally
gonna write
agree.
a life story about me, this is my like ego coming in, where I'm like, if I die and somebody wants to like write a book about the life of Emily, like the downfalls are gonna make it like a little bit more interesting to read.
Yeah. And also a
Yeah.
little bit more relatable too, because like I think people like look at this like the image that we have on social media, and they're like, oh, this person has like the perfect life, but that can be further from the truth. Like we're sharing like what we want to share. We're not sharing like the our lowest lows and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I had somebody message me the other day, but they're like, your life looks like so dreamy. And I'm like, girl, I hope you're able to recognize that like I give you a tiny little glimpse
Yes.
into my like experience on this planet. And so if you are, yeah, like extrapolating to think that like every day is like, me just being like happy go lucky at the beach with my dog, like,
Yeah.
no.
Yes.
Sweetie, no.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yes. Speaking of your dog, I saw him get up and move away a little while
Yeah, he's
ago.
chilling.
Yeah.
He's so funny. He has a like pile of blankets like just like right over here that
Yeah.
he plops on when I'm on Zoom.
Aw, so cute.
Yeah, so precious.
Okay. What were your family and friends' initial reactions when you started pole dancing, and have they changed, and how?
Interesting. So friends, I don't think they really cared. So I started pole dancing when I was in chiropractic school, and so I was still in the like kind of getting to know people phase of like that part of like being at an institution. And so like I don't remember anyone having like a really strong opinion about it.
Yeah.
Um, Especially because like I already was like doing my circus aerial stuff, and so they're just like, oh, you're shifting from like one thing to the other. And they would like come for a while. I actually liked performing, and so they would like come to my like showcases and like cheer me on and bring me flowers and all of that.
Yeah.
I if I had to guess, I would say that they thought it was good because I was like a lot more confident, which is like myself and my body, like after starting pole dancing.
Yeah.
Um, my family, like I don't know, my mom's been like pretty supportive the entire time, and I have 3 brothers and a dad, and they're like I would say like tolerating is probably like the best way to describe it. I think
Yeah.
they really enjoy the fact that like I enjoy it, but they don't particularly love seeing like their sister or their daughter like
Yeah.
dancing in like very little clothes. So
Yeah.
um yeah, like I don't think any of my brothers follow me on Instagram. Like they're like, we support you, but like we don't want to see it type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't actually had too much resistance. My ex-husband was not like super supportive,
Yeah.
which was also like really wild thing to like, it's like a really wild thing to like reflect on.
Hmm.
Like there was like a lot of resistance from him around me, like posting on social media and like performing and like the neighbors being able to see that we had like a pole in our house. Like if I had the window or the blinds open, my pole
Hmm.
was visible. And yeah, low key, he was probably my biggest hater. So
Oh boy.
we don't have that anymore.
Yeah. But wow, wow, yeah. That kind of goes back to what we were talking about the other day with how, with your post on Instagram when you said I would love to hear, like, would love to go a day without hearing that pole dancers are thinking about quitting because their significant other uh, doesn't approve. Uh,
Hmm.
I think that's what your post said.
Yeah, I think it was something like I would love to go a day without like reading or hearing about someone thinking quitting pole because their male partner has a problem with it.
Yeah.
Like I did get some messages around like some male people have their female partners have issues with them, like pole dancing too,
Yeah.
and like fully can hold space for that. But the posts that I see far more often are
Hmm.
from like yeah women saying like my husband has a problem with it, my boyfriend has a problem with it, or like I want to start pole dancing, but like how did you navigate your
Hmm.
husband, boyfriend, whatever, like having big feelings, and I stay having like fucking beef around this because in my experience at least
Yes.
men are very good at making sure that they get to do their hobbies at
Yeah.
like whoever's expense, right? Like they're gonna go golf for 6 hours every Saturday, they're gonna go hunt like every single weekend during hunting season, and their wives, girlfriends, partners, whatever, are like they either tolerate it or they don't. Like if you
Hmm.
want to be in my life, you recognize that like this is something I enjoy, and if you have like that big of a deal around it, like you can leave.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop doing what I enjoy.
Hmm.
And I want more women to have that same energy,
Yeah.
like very aggressively. Like you can be in my life and support me
Yep.
and be a good partner. Or if you have this big of a problem with it,
Yeah.
like your feelings are your feelings, and I'm not trying to say that like how you feel about something is invalid, but like get the fuck out of my life then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that your advice to people who are interested in pole but they're hesitant to try it because of the stigma around it and the potential negative reactions of their family and friends?
Yeah, I think first, like we need to recognize that like there's a lot of horophobia and a lot of I don't know misconceptions or like anger towards the
Yeah.
founders of pole dancing, which is strippers. Like people have issues with like, sex workers, and that needs to be I don't know recognized and then also unpacked.
Yes.
But if you're yeah, if you're wanting to do like this hobby or really any other hobby, like
Yeah.
your partner, the people that you allow into your life,
Yeah.
like should be supportive of you. They don't have to understand it, right? But they like
Right.
don't need to be making your life hard because you want to do something with your precious one life on this
Yeah.
godforsaken planet.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. And or even like family members who aren't supportive too. It's not just boyfriends and husbands. Certain family members are not that supportive, and this is something that I've experienced in my own life, and I'm just like, you know what? After almost 6 years, I don't care anymore. Like,
Yeah.
I really don't. Like, we're here on Earth for such a short time, and I think we spend way too much time like trying to please other people. And then one day we just wake up and say, screw it. I'm here for me. I'm not here for anyone else, so I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah, I find it really heartbreaking to be honest because so many people live such a small life or
Yes.
like a smaller life than
Yeah.
they need to be or that they want to be because of other people's like projections onto their existence, right? And then like my perspective on this, like what I choose to do with my own body, like with my own time,
Yeah.
has like no impact on what you choose to do with your own body in your own time. And like
Yeah.
let me live my life and
Yeah.
I will let you live your life
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
everybody's fine, it turns
Yeah.
out. Like, why
Exactly.
are you trying to control me?
Yeah, because some people feel the need to control other people, unfortunately, and they don't like having things be out of their control, but they don't realize that
Mm.
by trying to control other people, they're actually damaging those relationships.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot of it, like, it's a fear, right? Like,
Yes.
people are scared
Yeah.
that, like, you're gonna get hurt, or that,
Yeah.
like, you're gonna have regrets, or, whatever. But I don't know, sometimes it's like it's my own lesson to learn, and like
Mm-hmm.
you can't, I don't know, sometimes you can like take people's like advice, to
Yeah.
be like, oh, you actually like lived this, and you had like a really negative experience with
Yeah.
it, and so I'm gonna like learn from your experience. But other times, and a lot of times, it's like, no, I need to fuck up, and I need to
Yeah.
explore, and figure out how to navigate this on my own. And like, you can be part of my team, or you
Yes.
can isolate yourself from me, and one sounds a lot better than the other.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It ties into what you were saying about how you can be in my life or leave be- because eventually it just gets to be too much and you're just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't
Yep.
constantly be around people who project like such negative energy onto me and mock me and make fun of what I'm doing.
Or like who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more like a recent experience for me where I'm like, there's a person that probably is not going to be in my life anymore that
Mm-hmm.
uh, it came, yeah, like over last weekend, it came to be very obvious that I'm like, oh, you really just like have a problem with who I am as a person. Like,
Yeah.
you are trying really hard to get me to be who you want me to be,
Yeah.
not who I actually am.
Yeah.
And that's like incredibly harmful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I need you to be okay with
Yeah.
the quirky, weird Emily that I
Yeah.
am versus the like idealized
Mm-hmm.
version of me that you have in your head. And
Yeah.
if you can't acknowledge that and like work past it or through it or whatever, like you're gonna lose access to
Yeah.
me. And like,
Exactly.
that's so sad
Yeah.
and like
It is really
unnecessary.
sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always really sad when people don't accept us for who we are, and so we try to change ourselves so that they will.
Yeah, and I refuse to do that
Yeah,
anymore. That
yeah,
was
me
that was
too.
probably the biggest lesson from my marriage ending, because I did that in my marriage where I'm like, if I just like shrink myself, or if I'm not as opinionated, or if I pretend that this doesn't bother me, or that I like this when I don't actually really like it,
Yeah,
I will be loved and I'll be like, accepted. And
yeah,
it was like, no, you're loving and accepting a shrunk version of me. And
yeah,
I'm wigging the fuck out because I'm like, this isn't actually how I want to live or who I want to be. And so, yeah, I need to be all good and bad and ugly and pretty aspects of me.
yeah,
And once again, you don't have to love the horrible
yeah,
parts of me, but you can accept that
yeah,
I have these parts, yeah.
yeah,
And same for me for the other people, right? Like
yeah,
all of it.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you think that the stigma around pole dancing is the biggest obstacles that that pole dancers face, or is it on a list of obstacles?
Obstacles in like what context?
I feel like people stigmatize pole dance and pole dancers because it's something that they don't understand, and people make fun of things that they don't understand, right? There's plenty of examples for that. I guess what I'm asking, Emily, is do you think that the stigma and prejudice is the biggest obstacle that pole dancers face, or is it one on a list of obstacles? You and I both know that there's mental and physical obstacles, but there's societal obstacles as well.
Yeah, I think this is like, it's rooted in, to be honest, like I think people not being accepting of sex work and
Right.
strippers, right? Because
Yes.
we're trickled down from strippers, and so if you are a recreational pole dancer or a hobby pole dancer and people are having problems with you choosing to have this form of movement be part of your life, if you zoom out probably not that far,
Yeah.
the issue that they have is they like either like don't understand like consensual sex work, or they don't like that sex work exists, or that like women can have like autonomy over their body, and that they
Yes.
can make money off of like their physical body and their like sexuality, which isn't just like isolated to strippers. Like the boomingness of like OnlyFans and like content creators,
Yeah.
or just like porn stars, sex workers in general. A lot of a lot of the vitriol that is at them,
Yes.
especially if you like look at it like male only fans creators, they don't get shit on near as much as like female OnlyFans content creators. It's rooted in like a lot of the world wants to control women and wants to
Yes.
control like what we do with our bodies and how we express our sexuality, and like they're angry that we have figured out that we can monetize this,
Yes.
and they're like, oh no, like how dare you not just do this for free? How dare you
Yeah.
like benefit from, a lot of the patrons of sex work are men. Like how dare you take men's money, when it's like, no, we're owning our bodies, we're owning our sexuality, we're owning, like, yeah, this form of movement, and or like they are, like I'm not a sex worker, so
Yeah.
that bubble.
Yes.
But I think the like the sprinkle downness of it, which I think is why like a lot of strippers have issues with pole dancers, is that they recreational pole dancers don't face the same level of like hatred, even though we still do experience some degree of it. Yeah, basically, long yap short. The world has problems with women
Yes.
being okay with their bodies, their sexuality, moving in a sensual manner, not potentially necessarily doing it for male benefit, doing it
Yeah.
for their own benefit. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Doing it
basically, a
as
lot of
like
the
a
world
sense of.
hates.
Sorry, say that again.
Oh, I say like unfortunately, and I feel like a lot of news articles like just across the world shows that like a lot of people just like hate women and like hate that women have control over their lives and over their bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's fair. I was also gonna say that people don't understand that when we're pole dancing, and what you were saying about how um, women are like doing it to like embrace their sensuality and take power over their own bodies. Like, it's a form of empowerment for us. It's liberating to be that confident and that sensual and confident in your sensuality, that you feel comfortable doing that. Like, whether it's just for yourself at home or at a showcase. Yeah, didn't Coco Chanel say that confidence is the best accessory a woman can wear? I know somebody said
Something
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it, like a lot of what I perceive from it is people are like, you should feel shame doing this, and I have a problem with the fact that you don't feel shame
Yeah.
around it, which is something that I know I had to unpack when I first started, especially when I first started taking more sensual pole
Yeah.
classes. I noticed that I was experiencing a lot of discomfort and a lot of shame around moving in that fashion and being okay with, yeah, being perceived as sexy and touching myself in a sexual and sensual manner, because having grown up incredibly religious, that was not okay. That aspect of my being was supposed to be saved for when I was in a partnership with a man. And the fact that I was just at a studio in front of basically strangers,
Yeah.
moving in that fashion, and then choosing to share it online for anyone to potentially like interact with was,
Yeah.
yeah, like you should feel shame, and shame
Yeah.
on you for not feeling shame. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, or I could just be okay with
Yeah.
the meat
Yeah.
suit that I exist in. And like,
Yeah.
you can have shame on it if you want to,
Yeah.
but don't project your shame onto me, please.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just religion. It's also like society as a whole. Like, from a really young age, like, girls are taught to like be ashamed of their sexuality and their sensuality, and they actually talk about that on the documentary Strip Down, Rise Up. I don't know if you've watched it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so have I. I watched it when it first
Yeah.
came out. For our listeners, if you don't know what Strip Down, Rise Up is, it's a Netflix documentary about the transformative power of pole dancing. Um, yeah, people are uncomfortable when women are like comfortable in their bodies and like comfortable with embracing their sensuality and sexuality, because that goes against the grain of what we've been indoctrinated with since we were young.
Yeah. Which, yeah, it's like, to me, which I recognize that not everybody grew up religious, so it's kind of
Yes.
the patriarchal society that
Yes.
we exist in, and at least in a lot of aspects in the United States, there's a lot of religious undertones because our country was founded by religious people,
Yeah.
and so yeah, the way that sexuality and sensuality is taught to us from a very, very young age is,
Yeah.
yeah, very shame driven and you keep stuff private
Yeah.
and there's a time and a place for this to come out. And yeah, you just choosing to do it on a random Tuesday is not appropriate.
Yeah.
Or the one that I got was, and I don't get this too much anymore, but when I first started posting, like, you're a doctor, it is not appropriate for you to be posting videos
Yeah.
of you dancing
Yeah.
or sharing content geared towards this particular subset of people. Yeah, you're not being professional. Like, you should be in this rigid box of, I'm a doctor and I help people with their injuries. And I'm like, well, no, I can shake my ass and hump the floor and still have a brain.
Yeah.
Like, the
Exactly.
two are not mutually exclusive. That was probably the biggest beef that I had. There was a few people where I'm like, the fact that you can't reconcile that I can be multifaceted,
Yes. Yeah.
fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, it's always super frustrating when people don't realize that we can be more than one thing. Like, you can be known as this sweet, very genuine, kind person, but when something happens to piss you off and you get angry and you respond, people are like, "Whoa, where is this coming from? That's not who you are."
And they're like, no, no, actually, both. Both are me.
Both.
Both. Yeah, I'm trying to think of one, because I did have one person, I don't remember the context of this, but like, I responded to a comment somewhere, and somebody interpreted it as me like bitchy, and they responded to my comment being like, you're a doctor, you should be nice. And I was so enraged where I'm like, I can be a doctor, and I can also be a bitch.
Yeah.
Turns out, I don't necessarily do. I try to, especially with like online stuff, show up as like a super kind and like human and like compassionate and caring as much as I possibly can.
Yes.
But no, yeah, if you're gonna like come at me for something, don't expect me to be like, and with love and light and like
Yeah.
gentleness. It's like, no,
Yeah. You're gonna react.
suck my dick. Yeah, like, and which I don't think I actually said that to the person, but yeah, I ended up going back and forth with this person being like, you're a doctor, you should be nice. And I'm like, you're trying to put me in a box that is ridiculous to try and put me in. So I think one of my kind of like zooming out goals with my being and like my online presence is trying to show people you can do all the things, right? Like, you can be super opinionated, sarcastic, incredibly intelligent,
Yes.
athletic. You don't have to shrink yourself if you don't want to.
Right. Yeah. I totally agree. And you shouldn't shrink yourself just to make other people feel comfortable or make them feel better about themselves.
No, yeah. And I think the more, this actually has been something that I've been pondering a lot, because kind of circling back to how much do you show up on social media, how vulnerable do you want to be? I think the more examples we have, especially for younger girls and younger women, to be like, no, you don't have to be timid, you don't have to be quiet, you don't have to pretend that you don't want to shake your fucking ass in a thong because that brings you joy. Like, you can do all of the things.
Yeah, you can. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only person in control of your life is you, and no one but you decides what you're worth. So
yeah, I love it. I'm like pumped up. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go shake my ass.
yeah. So I see your pole behind you there. Did you do a pole practice today? Yeah.
No, it stays up. It's actually really funny because I might dance today. We'll see. I have a few other things that I need to do before I wiggle my body. But I don't let a lot of people come into my home because this is my like safe space. I every once in a while will allow somebody that doesn't like know me super well, isn't like a friend, right? So like I've been like going on dates, and every once in a while I'll allow somebody that I've gone on a date with to come over. And like, this is my front door is like right here, and so you like turn the corner, and there's just a pole in the middle of it. I'm like, surprise! I don't own a TV. Like I'll chill on here with Samson, and then my pole, and then you can't see it, but like behind where my camera is my like workout
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm like, here's my gym, here's my pole,
Yeah.
there's a couch. Welcome to my life.
What's their what's their reaction when they like walk in and like there's a pole in the middle of your living room?
I've learned that I kind of need to give people a heads up because sometimes, unfortunately, men will just make the assumption that I'm going to dance for them, or they'll just kind of view me as a sexual object as opposed to an actual human.
Yeah.
And so before they're allowed to come into my house, I will either make them follow me on Instagram, I'll make them look at my Instagram, and so I'm like, this is what I do for a living. This
Yeah.
is literally how I support myself, is working with pole dancers. And if they have any sort of weird vibes, then they get to leave, which is actually something I asked on my Instagram stories a while ago, was when you're dating, because I'm a new word to dating, when do you let a partner know that you're involved in pole dancing? And some people wait until they feel connected to people, and then other people, it's from the jump. And for me, since it's how I make money, I have pictures of me pole dancing on all my dating profiles. I'm very upfront about it because I'm not going to deal with a repeat of my ex-husband where I'm having to battle with you around posting shit on Instagram, or I don't want people seeing your ass, whatever. And so if they get to the point where they're like actually coming to my house, they're over the moon excited. They're like, oh my God, this is where you film stuff. I saw your video. I saw that mirror in one of your posts. And then more often than not, they wanna play on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then I end up filming them. They're like, I want to do it. Let me how to do something. And so yeah, I've had a few where they're like, I'm gonna do a little thing. So
Oh, jeez.
for the most part, it's pretty positive
Yeah.
and kind of silly. And
Yeah.
then I also stay being annoyed at like, how strong men are, kind of from the rip.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, you never touched a pole, and you just did shit that would take a lot of women weeks to be able to do.
Yes.
Fuck you.
Yes. That's so fun though that they come in and they get all excited and they see like the mirror and the pole from your videos and they're like, I'm gonna do something. I want to do something. I want to give it a try.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's super cute.
Yeah.
When they're like, when they're genuinely interested in you as a person and the things that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
And then like a threshold, because I've had other ones come in and they've sat and they're like, okay, dance for me, and I'm like, there's the door. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't do this for men.
yourself, like, so hard. Yeah, like no, sweetie baby, you get to leave now.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's so presumptuous too.
Yeah. No, if men have one thing, it's the audacity. But luckily, I have the same level of audacity, and so that's super fun for both of us.
Yeah. No, but that's good though. Like sometimes you need a little audacity to deal with audacious people.
Yeah. No, it's actually really super entertaining on like multiple levels. I woke up to a text from a guy. Sorry, I'm just really relevant to pole dancing, but that ghosted me a month ago.
Yeah.
Like, just fell off the face of the earth. Which isn't the first one, whatever, is part of modern dating. I stay having beef with it because I'm like, you're a grown-ass adult and you couldn't just say, I'm busy or I'm not interested or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to read it to you because I think it's really funny.
Okay.
Hey there, Dash. I hope all is well. It's been a while since we last spoke, but I wanted you to know that you've been on my mind. Things have settled down in my life recently, and I'm in a much better headspace now that I've fully transitioned to a new job and a new city. Feeling like I can be more present for you, both physically and emotionally. I'd love to reconnect. And like, I thought it was a spam message, to be honest, because like there wasn't like any sort of anything like, hey, like this is like what I know his name, but like this is Bob. Like, or hi, Emily, like anything. And so I like read it and I was like, oh, kind of a weird spam message. And then I searched the phone number and I was like, oh, this is a guy that I went on one date with, which is wild to me. No apology, no accountability, no acknowledgement that we just fell off the face of the earth. And so my audacious response is going to be, I have a ghosting fee. And if you pay the ghosting fee, I will text you back. And if you don't, then leave me the fuck alone. And
Yeah.
I haven't sent it because I'm just gonna like make him sweat for a minute. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's gonna get sent an Apple Pay request for a number with several zeros before I will talk to him again. I'm like, I think it's hilarious. Like, if you want to play stupid games, like, let's play.
Yeah.
And worst case scenario, I don't talk to him ever again, which, like, whatever. Best case scenario, I make some money. I'm happy.
I didn't actually. I didn't think you were serious about the ghosting fee, and then you said the thing with all the zeros, and I was like, oh, she actually is serious.
No, I'm serious. Yeah, I'm. That's going to happen. I'm still trying to figure out how exactly I want to word it, but he's gonna be asked for some money.
Yes.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to humble these men, and
Yes.
it's gonna be me.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that is weird that he didn't say your name or anything, or it's so and so, we connected a while back. Like, no personality there, like no personal
No.
stuff, like, because
Anything. Yeah.
yeah, because like when you're talking to someone who knows you like very well, like you and I send each other messages like saying, hey, how are you, like Emily or Lauren, and sometimes we just say, hey, how are you, but that's okay because we've been in touch for 2 years and we've gotten to know each other. Yeah, so there's definitely like a
No,
difference
yeah,
there.
I went on one date with this man. And so for me, it's like the assumption that like I'm just gonna be okay with you like waltzing in and out of my life as it serves you.
Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah. Ghosting is not cool.
Like, no. And it's to me, it's really funny because this isn't the first time that it's the first time it's happened with this guy, but it's happened several times since I've been single where I'm like, do you think women are just waiting around to like, hear
Exactly.
from you? Like, is that what, like, you can just like treat me like shit and
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be like, yes, please come back into my life.
Yeah.
No.
No.
And so historically, I haven't sent people a ghosting fee, but this is like I don't know, this poor man, I've just like, hit my threshold for dealing with men's shenanigans. And
Yeah.
so he's going to get the, like, I don't know. I think it's really funny. I think it's actually really hilarious, but he's going to get the ghosting fee message.
Yeah. Well, let me know how that turns
And
out.
okay, yeah, I will. I don't think he'll pay it because why would he? But maybe he will surprise me and then I will be richer and I'm not mad at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, any final questions before we wrap this up, my dear?
Yes. Tell just to balance out what we were just talking about. Tell me about a happy memory associated with pole dancing.
A happy memory. I feel like there's so many. Like, how do I pick one? Okay, I think the like more recent one is I have been working on Gennaro and being able to get in and out of Gennaro for a while. And I think one of the things that like keeps me coming back to pole is like it's such a challenge, right? Like you can
Yes.
have this trick that you see online or like maybe you're taught in class and it's like really hard for you. And kind of circling back to like I love the grind. I love like shipping really hard and having to put a lot of work in to be able to achieve things. And I finally am at the point where getting in and out of Gennaro is like relatively accessible to me. There's still some days where it doesn't go quite well, or quite how I planned, but we recently tipped over the if I want to, I can put this in a combo threshold. And that like this has been years in the making, literally years in the making, and it's like it's here.
And
All of
such
my
a
hard
great
work is
feeling.
paying off. And the realization of the video, I shared it on my Instagram stories yesterday. The face that I make where I'm like, it finally happened. And so I still got it cleaned up, right? Like we're still in that, like I can do it, but it's like not really pretty stage. But yeah, the like hump of like struggle busing to make like a tiny bit of progress. Like now we're in the like, let's fucking go. Like we can actually like do shit with this.
Yeah. It's getting over like the training hump of learning a new move. And really quickly, do you want to explain a little bit about what a Gennaro is and why it's so freaking hard to accomplish?
Yeah, now my brain is like, how do you explain a Gennaro? So it's like a side bend, like like lateral flexion. So think like you're tipping to one side, and then you're back bending while holding your body weight into one arm, like on kind of in a flag-esque
Yeah.
position on the pole.
Yes.
And so yeah, it took me years, and I'm not even joking. I have been working on this for years. It took me a really long time to build the like back flexibility and
Yeah.
strength in that position. And so that was like a huge hump where I'm like, I could do it, but my back would cramp and it would be like so sore
Yeah.
for like days after an attempt. And so I had to like check my ego and be like, I need to work on like my like lower thoracic spine, kind of like upper lumbar spine
Yeah.
flexibility. And that, you know, in your 30s is a slow, tedious process.
Yes.
And so, yeah, was working on that. And then, yeah, got to the point where I'm like, I can shoulder mount into a brass monkey and drop down into a Gennaro, feels good. And then I would just have to like bail out of it because no amount of anything could get my ass back up the pole.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for like a good chunk, it was like, I can get into it, but I can't get out of it in a cute way. And so, the like next chunk that I've been working on basically since I moved to San Diego, so we're like 8 months into it now, has been how do I want to get out of it? Do I want to drop down into something? Do I want to like go back up into brass monkey? And the like drop down is easier because you basically just untwist down the pole and you just have to catch yourself. And so that's been good for a while. But the like go back up has been like a feat. And so we've been drilling progressions of it, and the pieces just finally clicked. And so I'm like, yeah.
And
so,
the Gennaro,
and then, like,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'd say the next thing is now that I know that I can get back up, it's like, once I'm in a brass monkey, where am I going from there? And so the combo that I have in my head, I'm like, oh, now, fuck me. Like, now I have to start unpacking. Not like fuck me, but the next step of work is now that door is opened where I'm like, okay, check. And then I'm like, oh, I want to be able to do, it's like, I think it's called tornado sit up, where you're like in a brass monkey and you like bring your leg up to go up and do a sit. And I haven't trained that for a really long time. The last time I did, I landed on my back. I like lost my grip and fell. So we're now having to overcome the fear of that cartwheel thing up. And so I'm like, score, here we go. We're back to the grind.
Yeah, and the brass monkey and the Gennaro are two advanced pole moves, right? You shouldn't attempt them as a beginner.
Actually, a really interesting question, because where some people put brass monkey especially is intermediate-ish. Other people put it like pretty high up. And so, Gennaro I would definitely put in more of the advanced category for sure. But brass monkey one is one where I can make the argument that if you keep both arms and both hands on, so you're like 4 points of contact, that could be a lower intermediate move. Because you're very secure in it.
Yeah, I haven't even attempted those moves yet, so I'll keep you posted.
Okay. Solid. Yeah, and it's one where I think it's kind of circling back. It goes to who's teaching you, because you can make brass monkeys seem a really chaotic thing, or you can have somebody that's like, no, you know, it's a knee grip and a foot grip. Both arms are on the pole. Like you're pretty solid.
Yep. Yeah.
You just have to be okay with being upside down. It's probably the hurdle.
Yes. Yeah, being upside down is part of being a pole dancer.
Okay.
Well,
we're coming up on almost 2 hours. Of this. Is there anything else you want to? Anything else that you want to yap about?
I can't think of anything, but if there's anything you want to say, go for it.
No, I feel like we went on a lot of different journeys.
Yeah, we did.
With it, we talked about a lot of things, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and I had my questions on my second monitor here, and we didn't actually get through all of them.
No, we're just fine. Yeah, we talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, it went places.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too bad at places.
No, not too bad at all. And you know, you can always come back and do another episode, and we can dig into those other questions.
I would love that. Let me
Yeah.
know. Yeah, let me know when it makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for joining me on this first episode of the Empowered Pros and Ponders podcast. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in.
Yay, thank you so much. I'm so proud of you once again for doing the thing.
Thank you so much. I wouldn't have happened without you.
Okay, bye.